The millionaire shocks as he lands from the helicopter and declares, "You will be my girl." It was a sunny afternoon in Chicago, the kind that made the bustling city seem almost magical. Melody Parker stepped out of her office, her heart heavy with the weight of her father's debts. He had made choices that landed them in this mess. And now she was being dragged into an arrangement that felt more like a prison sentence than a union. As she walked towards the park, the chatter of the city buzzed around her, but her mind was preoccupied with the impending meeting with Dante Rossi, a name that floated through the media like a storm cloud. Dante was a young millionaire known for his trendy restaurant chain, and today, as rumors swirled about his past, some sinister, some just outrageous, he was back in Chicago and ready to meet his fate, or rather, his bride. When the thundering roar of helicopter blades filled the air, people stopped in their tracks, heads turned, phones lifted, and at that moment, time froze. Melody's heart raced painfully in her chest. How could she be anyone's girl when everything felt so wrong? The way he commanded the space was both thrilling and terrifying. She felt the eyes of the onlookers digging into her, waiting for her reaction. But the moment their gazes locked, she saw a flicker of vulnerability in his steely blue eyes. Was she mistaken, or was there more to this enigmatic man? The initial awkwardness hung between them like an invisible thread. They exchanged forced smiles, hers shaky, his too confident. As they began to navigate this unexpected union, the tension slowly unraveled. Melody discovered a surprising warmth underneath Dante's icy facade, a complexity that intrigued her. His backstory, filled with both triumph and tragedy, began to unfold like a gripping novel. But just as they started to connect, shadows from his past crept closer. Whispers of danger echoed in the distance, and an unsettling message slipped in. As this budding friendship started to take root, a sense of dread clouded her thoughts. Could she trust him? And what secrets lay buried beneath his perfectly polished surface? With the stakes rising and time slipping away, the future appeared uncertain. As she stood on a precipice of possibility, there was no turning back now. Everything was about to change. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the Melody stood there, heart in her throat, staring at Dante. The crowd's excitement buzzed around her like a swarm of bees, but all she felt was a chill creeping down her spine. What had just happened? This was supposed to be a simple meeting, just two people tiptoeing around an arrangement born of necessity. But now, everything felt heightened. Dante's smirk faded as he stepped closer, eyes burning with intensity. "You don't have to look so scared, Melody," he said, his voice softer, almost soothing. Yet her instincts screamed otherwise. Before she could respond, a sudden commotion erupted at the edge of the park, shouting, scrambling feet. A woman burst through the crowd, frantic and wild-eyed. "Dante, stop!" she screamed, her voice sharp like glass. Gasps spread through the onlookers like wildfire. Melody twisted to see the woman, hair flying in disarray, desperation written across her features. She felt a jolt of confusion. Who was this person? Is this some kind of joke? Dante shot back, irritation flashing across his face. What do you want? But the frantic woman kept advancing, ignoring his words as she reached for Melody instead. "Get away from him!" she shouted, panic in her tone. You don't know what he's capable of. Melody's heart raced harder, beating like a drum in her ears. Her mind spun. What did she just walk into? The onlookers were transfixed, a murmur of shock rippling through the crowd. Is this true? Melody managed to ask, looking between Dante and the woman. The tension hung thick in the air, palpable and heavy. Dante stepped back, shock flickering across his face, but only for a moment. She's lying, he insisted, his voice sharp and cutting through the noise. She's just... But the woman cut him off, breathing raggedly. I'm not lying. I know what he did. You can't trust him. Her eyes bore into Melody's, filled with urgency. He's dangerous. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed in the distance, followed by panicked screams. A black SUV screeched to a halt near the park entrance, tires skidding. The crowd parted in shock, revealing men in dark suits jumping out, faces grim and determined. Dante's demeanor shifted, features tightening into a mask of frustration. We're not finished here, he growled, stepping back into the shadow of the helicopter. The atmosphere turned electric, charged with the unknown. Who were these men? The woman seized the moment. You need to listen. Something's wrong. Don't you see? Enough, Dante shouted, and Melody flinched at the raw force behind it. It was like watching a storm brew just above her. Then, without warning, one of the suited men pulled out a small device, a glint of silver catching Melody's eye. As it crackled to life, he pointed it directly at Dante. We have to apprehend him now. Melody's breath caught, eyes darting between Dante and the unfolding chaos. The realization struck her like a lightning bolt. This was no ordinary scenario. The man she was meant to partner with was at the center of something dark and dangerous, something that could swallow her whole. Wait, she called, her voice rising above the frenzy. But the words fell flat against the surreal whirlwind around her. Everything she thought she knew began to unravel, threads snapping and tangling into a web of uncertainty. As the suited men closed in, Dante's expression transformed from defiance to something almost primal, fear. For the first time, she saw it in his eyes. What was going on? And just like that, her world tilted, spiraling into a reality she never anticipated. With hearts pounding, the crowd looked on, caught between morbid curiosity and horror. The truth lingered, just out of reach, waiting to be unveiled. What was Dante hiding? And was she ready to find out? As the suited men closed in, tension crackled in the air. The crowd held its breath, a sea of wide eyes and open mouths. Melody's heart pounded, echoing a dangerous rhythm as she felt the weight of the moment. Dante's expression morphed, his bravado shattered into uncertainty. You don't understand what you're doing, he shot back, voice low and urgent. The woman's voice broke through the chaos, trembling with fury and fear. He's not who you think he is. He has blood on his hands. Melody's knees felt weak. Blood? What did this woman know? Everything in her screamed to run, to escape the spiral of confusion, but she couldn't look away from Dante's fierce blue gaze, which now flickered between outrage and desperation. Suddenly, the air shifted. The crowd gasped as a loud explosion erupted from the black SUV. The sound was deafening, a thunderous boom that shook the ground beneath them. Flames shot up, licking the sky, casting a fiery glow as people screamed and dove for cover. Dante's body reacted before his mind caught up. He lunged toward Melody, grabbing her wrist with an iron grip, pulling her away from the chaos. "Run!" he shouted, urgency shoving its way into his voice. But she hesitated, staring back as the flames danced, illuminating the fear painted on the faces around them. The woman cried out, "Run, Melody! Get away from him!" Her pleas pierced through the noise, urgency and terror intertwined. Dante's grip tightened, and he pulled her, urgency flooding his movements. We can't stay here. The panic in the air felt like a live wire, sparking everything it touched. Melody's heart raced, confusion swirling in her mind. Could he really be what she feared? As they stumbled back, she caught sight of one of the suited men scrambling for cover, holding a radio, barking orders. "Get in. We need him alive." Alive. The word hung heavily in the air. Why did they want him alive? Melody's pulse raced alongside her thoughts. Was he a target or a prisoner? The woman's voice echoed back, making her gut twist. He's dangerous. As they reached the edge of the park, they skidded to a stop. But as they turned to face the path, two more suits emerged from the chaos, a wall of muscle and power blocking their escape. Fear rippled through the crowd like a cold wind. The world narrowed, focusing solely on this contested space. "Dante," a voice boomed from behind them, and Melody's breath caught. It was another man, one she didn't recognize, wearing an intimidating scowl. "You need to come with us." "Don't you dare," Dante shot back, voice raw with emotion. "I'm not going anywhere." In that heartbeat, despair painted his features. Melody's throat tightened. Did he know these men? Were they friends or foes? Questions spun in her mind like cyclone debris, every answer sending her deeper into uncertainty. Then, chaos erupted again. The woman darted past them, eyes wild. "He's a criminal. He'll ruin your life." Suddenly, a loud crashing sound came from behind the men, shocking everyone into silence. An unmistakable figure burst through the smoke, the SUV driver, wild-eyed and frantic. He clutched a binder, flinging it into the air as if it held the secrets of the universe. "You don't understand. It's all in here. He never—" Before he could finish, chaos reigned once more. Dante turned back to Melody, despair etched into his features. "You need to believe me." But before she could reply, the folder exploded open, releasing a torrent of photographs and documents that swirled around them like confetti in the wind. Melody's jaw dropped as she caught a glimpse. Images of a smiling Dante, intertwined with women and another face she recognized all too well. Her father. Her world lurched. Everything she thought she knew collapsed into nothing. "Dante?" Her voice was barely a whisper. He was staring at the photos too, eyes wide with horror and betrayal. The truth hung in the air, palpable and suffocating. "Melody, I swear, this isn't what it looks like." But as she stood there, frozen, the crowd murmured in shock. One word rang out, cutting through the fear like a knife: collusion. As the glare of the flames flickered behind them, questions loomed larger. Was he a monster? A victim? Melody's heart sank, confusion flooding her thoughts. What was the truth? "Do you trust me?" he asked suddenly, desperation threading his voice. But the weight of betrayal hung heavy between them. Was any of this real? What game was being played? And just like that, Melody felt herself caught in a storm. A precipice had opened up before her, and every choice spun into an abyss. As the crowd hunched low, their breaths caught in their throats, Melody felt the world tilt. The accusations swirled like a tempest, and for a moment, everything else faded. The flames hungrily consuming the SUV, the frantic voices of chaos melting into a haunting silence. "Do you trust me?" Dante's voice was raw, begging. But in that instant, doubt flickered like a candle threatening to extinguish. Before she could respond, the air grew heavy. A cold breeze swept through the park, whispering secrets. And then, out of nowhere, a deafening bang emanated from the horizon, drawing everyone's gazes. It was another explosion, minute but shockingly close, echoing in the background. The ground heaved beneath them, and people screamed, scattering like leaves in the wind. "Get down!" Dante threw himself over Melody, shielding her from the sudden jolt. She felt his warmth. But all she could see was the panic, blossoming across the crowd. It was a deafening chorus of fear, chaos swirling. But then something caught her eye. Just past the chaos, something glimmered, a flash of silver. As if drawn by an invisible thread, she turned towards it. Her heart raced as she realized what it was. Among the debris, a figure emerged, tall, dark-clad, and unmistakably familiar. It was her father. The revelation hit her like a punch to the gut. Shock immobilized her. He hadn't been present in her life for years. Lost in a cascade of bad choices and shattered bridges they never had the chance to mend. Yet here he was, alive, amidst the danger, looking more intense than she remembered, soaked in shadows. Melody, his voice boomed through the chaos, dashing toward them with an urgency that cut through the madness, a wild desperation in his eyes. "Dad!" Her voice trembled. It felt unreal, like seeing a ghost. But he was tangible, rushing in their direction. Fear and confusion twisted inside her. Dante shifted, glancing back at the approaching figure. Rage snapped across his features. "What are you doing here?" he growled, stepping protectively in front of her. But she knew he had no hold on this situation. "Stay away from her," her father yelled, eyes blazing. "He's not who you think he is." "What?" Melody gasped. "What do you know?" "I've buried secrets to protect you." "Secrets?" Dante's voice erupted with anger. "You ruined her life. She trusted you. You're the one who should be afraid." Melody felt the ground beneath her crumble. "What are you hiding?" She turned from one man to the other, the stakes suddenly higher than she could fathom. The man she thought could save her, the partner she was to marry, and the father she had longed for were now locked in a collision of secrets. Then, as if time collided with reality, another figure erupted from behind her father. A woman, beyond frantic, hair disheveled, eyes wild. "No, don't!" she screamed, throwing herself between them, disregarding the trading barbs. She was familiar, a reflection of past memories. Mia, her mother's sister, the aunt Melody had believed was lost to a life of her own choices. "Why are you here, Mia?" Melody felt sick with uncertainty. "What's happening?" "It's all connected," Mia shouted, voice hitching. "The debts, the choices, they've all led us here. You were never meant to get involved." Dante's expression shifted, morphing from fury to a peculiar kind of understanding, a depth of sorrow. As Mia revealed the bonds between them, the truth clanged loudly. Underneath the darkness they battled, a web of familial ties, betrayal, and danger slammed into place. "Get away from her." Her father's voice was fierce but tinged with desperation. "You don't understand what you're up against." Melody's heart pounded. Confused faces surrounded her. Sharp gasps punctuated the air. Her world spun on a precipice, the weight of history and shady dealings looming large. In that moment, betrayal and revelation exploded within her mind. Was collaboration rooted deeper than she knew? Was her father's shadow the darkness Dante fought against? Or just another layer obscuring the truth? And just like that, everything changed. Who was the villain? Who was the hero? And what thread still connected them in this tapestry of chaos? As they stood on the edge of revelation, her heartbeat echoed a single undeniable truth. Nothing would ever be the same again. The tension hung thick in the air, heavy as lead. Melody felt caught in the middle of a storm. Her father, Dante, and Mia, all locked in a battle of accusations and revelations. The crowd watched, breathless, a mix of fear and curiosity etched on their faces. Just when it seemed the chaos could not escalate further, a new sound broke through the din, a soft, high-pitched beeping. Melody blinked, her senses pulled in every direction. What was that noise? As if drawn by an unseen force, she turned her attention to her father. His face went pale, fear flickering in his eyes. "Get back!" he yelled, pushing Mia behind him with sudden urgency. The moment shattered, splintering into madness. Another explosion erupted, not from the SUV this time, but from a backpack strapped to the man who had just joined them. He stood wide-eyed, frozen, shaking slightly as the device continued to beep ominously. Silence enveloped the crowd, every gasp stuttering into the air. "What the hell is that?" Dante shouted, stepping away from Melody, instinctively placing himself between her and the man. "Is he?" Melody couldn't finish the thought. Her heart thundered, fear washing over her. "He's just trying to scare us," her father shouted to the crowd. But there was a tremor in his voice that suggested he wasn't so sure. Mia clutched her father's sleeve, eyes wide. "We need to get out, now!" But the man stood still, eyes darting while the beeping became louder, rhythmic, each pulse echoing the panic building inside Melody. She could feel it, an electric horror coursing through the air. Without warning, he whipped around. "Stay back," he cried, raising his hands desperately. "I didn't mean to." But before he could finish, the device in the backpack started to flash red. Melody felt a sinking feeling, the world narrowing to a single point of dread. Then, with a sudden and terrifying clarity, she realized it. The betrayal swirled deeper than she thought. "It was you," she gasped, pointing at her father. "You planted that there." Her voice cut through the chaos like a knife. Gasps erupted from the crowd, shouts of disbelief ricocheted. "No!" Her father's face twisted in anguish. "I would never." Yet the man with the backpack shook his head, tears of fear in his eyes. "It was all a setup. They promised me." The weight of his words crashed against her like a tidal wave. A setup? What did he mean? A strangled scream escaped from the depths of her throat before she steeled herself, searching her father's face, seeking truth in a sea of lies. Then, without warning, the beeping stopped. Silence enveloped them all, a heavy blanket pressing down. Instinctively, everyone held their breath, waiting for what would come next. But then a chain reaction ignited. A figure surged into the scene, a woman bursting through the throng. "Get away! Everyone back!" she screamed, brandishing what looked like a control device. The crowd took a step back, swaying with fear. "No!" the man shouted again, panic erupting. "You don't understand! I'm not a bomb! I'm—" And with a terrible crash, the device in the backpack exploded, but not in fire and smoke. Instead, it erupted in a blinding flash of light, sending everyone reeling backward. Shockwaves rippled through the crowd, knocking Melody off her feet. Dante's silhouette loomed over her, eyes wide with fear. But as she scrambled to her knees, something clicked within her. In that moment, she caught a glimpse of her father's face, a mix of regret, fear, and something else, something almost freeing. Then, darkness washed over her, everything twisted into a blinding haze, faces blurred, and a new reality began to unfurl. Murmurs echoed in the chaos. Just before the world slipped away entirely, one thought struck hard. What had she truly entered? The truth lingered just beyond reach, a dark tapestry woven from the things they hid. And when she opened her eyes again, nothing would ever be the same. As the blinding light began to fade and the world came back into focus, Melody blinked slowly. She was on the ground, heart pounding like a jackhammer, surrounded by uncertain whispers. What had just happened? Faces swirled around her, a mix of shock, astonishment, and fear. She could still hear the echoes of the explosion, feel the trembling earth beneath her. "Melody, are you okay?" Dante knelt beside her, his voice laced with worry, but the urgency in his tone cut through the haze. She noticed his hands trembling slightly as he reached out. "Yeah, I think so, she managed, her voice shaky. But as she looked around, the reality sank in deeper. The chaos hadn't stopped. The crowd remained, still reeling from the explosion, and her heart sank again as she realized the distances between all of them. Mia was yelling at her father. "What have you done? You have to tell her the truth. You can't keep lying." He was still standing, face twisted in confusion. But something clicked in Melody's mind. It was a trigger, one she didn't understand yet, but it pulled at her inside so violently it felt like a punch. "Dad, what's going on? What is the truth?" The question hung in the air like a heavy fog. "Listen to me, honey," her father said, urgency creeping into his voice. "I've made mistakes, ugly ones, but I swear I was doing it all to protect you. But I can't keep playing this game. Nothing is as it seems." "What game?" Melody's voice rose, a thin thread of panic snapping inside her. "You brought me into this mess. You put me in danger." "That backpack, it wasn't meant for you." He paused, eyes darting around. "It was for Dante." The moment fell heavy, the air thick with disbelief. Everything froze for just a heartbeat. Then, like a tidal wave crashing down, everything exploded. "What?" Dante's blue eyes hardened. "That's a lie." But her father held his ground. "Look at the evidence. You think I would have used that man as a pawn? I thought he was just what? A pawn? Are you freaking kidding me?" Dante cut him off, fists clenching at his sides. "You had your plans all along. You wanted me out of the picture, didn't you?" Melody's mind went blank. The world spun, everything she believed turning upside down. Did they really think the other was a threat? Her breaths came faster as the pieces fell into place. Her father's debts, the secrets, the collusion. It was all tangled in deception. Suddenly, out of the corner of her eye, she saw movement. The man with the backpack was getting up, brushing debris off his clothes, shaking like a leaf. "You don't realize," he yelled, desperation spilling over. "The truth is worse than you think. You all have to listen to me." Before anyone could respond, his words cut through the chaos like a knife. "That's not just a bomb. It had a tracker. It's all connected to you, Melody. They've been watching you." The weight of his revelation crashed into her like a tsunami. All the fear, the pain, the confusion suddenly bled together into one terrifying realization. She wasn't just caught in a battle between men. She was at the center of a war. "What do you mean?" she gasped, her chest tightening. "Your father and Dante, they're not the only players in this game. You're the key. They've been after you, using you as a pawn." Melody's head spun, the room around her narrowing. "After me? Why me?" But before another word could escape her lips, the world tilted again, this time dramatically. The shrill sound of sirens filled the air, growing closer, drowning every other sound. Lights flashed in the distance, growing brighter, sharper. Her heart plummeted. "Run!" Dante shouted, grabbing her wrist, but all she could do was stare. And just like that, everything she thought she knew shattered. Questions loomed larger than life. Who could she trust? What had her father really done? As the sirens wailed louder, advancing toward them, her heart raced once more, not out of fear alone, but out of determination. Secrets, betrayal, and danger swirled around her like a storm, all circling around one truth. Nothing was what it seemed, and she was just beginning to understand the magnitude of the game unfolding in front of her. But as shadows loomed closer, one thing became painfully clear. She was about to take center stage in this terrifying play. What would happen next? That remained a dark, unanswered question lingering in the air. As the sirens wailed and the chaos swirled around them, Melody felt an electric tension hum through the air. The fear wrapped around her like a cold blanket, but beneath that fear, confusion morphed into a deep-rooted anger. "Why does everyone have secrets?" she shouted, her voice rising above the noise. "What else are you hiding?" Dante's grip tightened on her wrist. "We don't have time for this," he urged, scanning the chaos for security or help. But before anyone could move, a piercing scream sliced through the air. "Get down!" someone shouted from the crowd. Without warning, a flash of bright light erupted near the black SUV, blinding everyone in the vicinity. Melody shielded her eyes, heart hammering in her chest. People ducked and stumbled, faces painted with horror. But the light lingered, almost unnatural, casting shadows that swirled and danced. "What the hell is going on?" Dante yelled, pulling Melody closer. Then, like a surreal opening of a veil, the light faded, revealing a figure stepping out. It was tall and cloaked in a white outfit that shimmered unnaturally in the fading light. Melody's heart dropped. She recognized the stance, the familiar silhouette, and as the figure stepped closer, clarity cut through the haze. "Mom?" The words slipped out before she could hold it back. The woman turned, old wounds etched on her features, but tinged with a fierce determination. "We need to talk, Melody. Now." Gasps echoed around them, a ripple of shock coursing through the onlookers. Dante's face twisted in disbelief, hands falling to his sides. "What are you doing here?" he asked, betrayal and confusion mingling in his tone. "Enough!" her mother shouted, voice strong, ringing like a bell in the chaos. "You all need to listen to me right now. It's bigger than just us, bigger than what you think." Melody felt a rush of emotion, fear, anger, but also relief. Could this be the moment she'd been waiting for? But doubt crept in like a shadow. "You left us," she said, hurt boiling beneath her words. "You chose to disappear." The crowd hushed, tension thickening the air as her mother stepped closer, eyes locked onto Melody. "No, honey, I was forced to leave. I thought I was protecting you." "Protecting us?" Dante echoed, skepticism lacing his words. "By disappearing? By letting your husband drag us into this mess?" Something cracked in Melody's heart. A flash of memories passed. A happy family, laughter, then darkness. "What mess?" She cried out, desperation knotting her insides. But before her mother could answer, the man with the backpack surged forward, panic etched across his face. "They're coming! You have to run! Now!" The urgency in his voice sent panic through the crowd. The very ground seemed to shake as heaviness settled around them. Melody met her mother's eyes, searching for reassurance, but finding only a storm of secrets swirling behind her gaze. Suddenly, a sharp crack pierced the air. A gunshot. Melody's breath hitched in her throat, the sound echoing against the chaos. She spun towards the sound, eyes wild as she searched for the source, heart racing. The suited men who had been lurking in the background lunged forward, two of them moving toward her, Dante, and her mother. "Stop right there!" One yelled, his voice slicing through the turmoil, a look of pure menace in his eyes. Every instinct in Melody screamed danger. And just when she thought everything would spiral out of control, everything shifted. Her mother stepped forward, raising her hands as a gesture of peace. "This isn't what you think. We can work this out." But her voice cracked, fear creeping back in. Everything collided, the shards of secrets, half-truths, and shattered trust coming together in a way that startled Melody. Who was her mother really? What did she mean by protecting them? Then, without warning, her mother hesitated, fear flickering across her face, shifting into something else. Suddenly, the crowd gasped collectively, and the sounds of chaos dimmed into an eerie silence. "Tell her the truth," the man with the backpack urged, his eyes pleading. And just like that, her mother's expression morphed from fear to resolve, as if an internal battle had been fought in a heartbeat. "I am not who you think I am," she declared. The words shattered the air like glass. A deep silence followed, one that felt as if the world itself had paused to listen. Melody felt as if the ground had fallen away beneath her. "What do you mean?" With that, everything changed again, shifting the entire landscape of truth. The undercurrents of fate, secrets pulling taut. They had been tangled together all along. Who had she been beside? Who was the real villain in this drama that had ripped her world apart? As the sirens drew closer, the air charged with an ominous energy, she watched her mother's lips move, but the words were drowned out by the rising tide of uncertainty. What could her mother possibly reveal now? And in that heartbeat, she realized there was so much more at stake than what she had ever imagined. As Melody stood there, the chaos swirling around her, her mom's words hung heavy in the air. "I am not who you think I am." The crowd stilled, a murmur of confusion passing through it like a wave. Dante's eyes narrowed, disbelief flickering across his handsome face. "Enough with the games," he shouted, frustration boiling. "What are you hiding?" Melody could feel her pulse quickening, heart pounding against her ribs. "Mom, just tell me. What are you talking about?" The ground felt unstable beneath her feet, like she was teetering on the edge of a cliff. Her mother hesitated, glancing back at the approaching sirens. The air thickened with tension. "Melody, it's complicated. You need to understand." But before she could finish, the backpack man, eyes wide with terror, interrupted. "They're coming. You don't have time for this." Suddenly, the air was charged. It felt like danger was just an inch away. A group of shadowy figures emerged from the smoky haze. They moved with swift precision, clothed in dark tactical gear, faces obscured behind visors. "Get down!" someone shouted. Melody gasped, but it was too late. The figures charged forward, guns drawn, voices booming. Everyone on the ground, now, panic erupted. People scrambled. The air filled with screams and shouts. Dante pulled Melody close, shielding her as her mother stood, brave yet trembling, at his side. "Stay back," her mother yelled, raising her hands. "We can talk this out." In that chaotic moment, everything changed. One of the dark figures lunged forward, grabbing Melody's mother by the arm. "You were supposed to deliver her," he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise like a razor. "What?" Melody's heart dropped. "Deliver me? What are you talking about?" But the man's eyes, cold and calculating, only grew sharper. "You had one job. Without her, the plan fails." Melody felt as if the floor had vanished beneath her. "Plan? What plan?" The crowd shifted, whispers swirling through them. Someone near her said, "Is she a hostage?" That simple word echoed in her mind, sending a chill down her spine. "Mom!" she cried, but her mother remained still. The man holding her mother suddenly looked conflicted, his grip loosening just slightly. "We can't let her talk." He glanced toward the others, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. Melody's head spun. "What do you mean? What's going on?" Suddenly, a gunshot rang out, cracking like thunder, and someone fell to the ground behind her. Time seemed to stall as everyone turned. The body lay motionless, a pool of crimson spreading across the grass, quickly soaking into the earth. "Run!" Dante shouted, panic clawing at his throat. He pulled Melody away, but her feet felt glued to the ground. Then, within that surge of chaos, her mother's voice broke through the gathered tension, shaky, yet powerful. "You don't understand. I had no choice. They made me do it." A flash of realization struck Melody. "Made you do what?" Her voice trembled with confusion and fear. But in a stunning twist, her mother's gaze shifted, eyes now blazing with intensity. "I did this to protect you, Melody. I'm not your mother. I'm a federal agent." The world tilted. Friends became strangers. Family unraveled into misdirection. "A federal agent?" Melody whispered, everything she knew crumbling. "What do you mean?" "A double life," her mother continued, determination flooding her voice. "I was ordered to infiltrate your father's network. I didn't choose this life. It chose me." The ground shook beneath her. Betrayal pulsed through her veins like poison as she took a step back, grappling with the reality slamming into her. You were working against him?" Just then, Dante turned to fix Melody with a look that seemed to suggest everything she had believed was a lie. The fire in her mother's eyes was alive but terrifying. "Yes, your father was tangled in a web I had to uncover, but I won't let them take you." An explosion rattled the ground again, and confusion rippled through the crowd. Everything spun further out of control. Melody stood frozen, questions clawing at her mind. Was her whole life a deception? If her mother wasn't who she thought, then who was she? As screams echoed and chaos erupted around them, one thought crashed into her consciousness. The truth was far darker than any secret she had imagined. Moments later, another officer stormed through, shouting orders. "We need to secure the area. You can't leave." And just like that, everything collided. Trust shattered. The deceived became the deceivers, each playing a part in a dangerous game they never truly understood. With her world unraveling before her and danger closing in from all sides, Melody realized she was standing at the brink of something monumental. What now? Everything hung in the balance. Was anyone truly on her side? And what was she meant to do next? The answers remained buried beneath layers of tangled lies, ready to surface in a world turned upside down. As the sirens grew louder and the chaos tightened its grip, Melody's heart raced with a wild rhythm. She turned to her mother, eyes wide with desperation. "Tell me the truth." But just as her mother opened her mouth to speak, a figure burst through the crowd, his frantic energy breaking the fray. "Melody, you have to listen to me." It was Jason, her childhood friend. His breath came in panicked gasps as he pushed his way toward her, frantic and disheveled. "Jason, what are you doing here?" Melody asked, confusion flooding her chest. "This isn't safe. Doesn't matter. They're looking for you, both of you." Panic etched deeper lines into his face as he pointed at her mother. "Your mom isn't the only one with secrets. She's not the target. They're coming after you, Melody." "What?" Her heart slammed against her ribcage. "Why me? What do you mean?" "Because," Jason said, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "you're a part of something they want to control or destroy." The ground beneath her seemed to wobble, as if the solid earth had turned to jelly. Every heartbeat echoed warnings, yet the air buzzed with monstrous urgency. Dante stepped closer, the tension in his body rippling. "What are you talking about? Who's coming after her?" But Jason didn't look at Dante. His eyes locked onto Melody's, radiating desperation. "Melody, you don't know the half of it. Your father, he's been involved in deals far worse than anyone understands. But it's only because of you that it has all escalated." Before Melody could process his words, a new rustle spread through the crowd. A group of men in dark suits, faces hard, eyes scanning like bloodhounds. Fear threaded through the air again, thick and suffocating. "Get down!" someone yelled, the sound cutting through the uncertainty. Jason lunged for Melody, pulling her to the ground. Just then, chaos erupted. "Hold the line!" one of the suited men shouted. A thundering crash shattered the moment, an explosion rippling through the park. Dust and debris filled the air, a cloud of confusion swirling like a storm. "Run!" Dante shouted, grabbing Melody's hand again. But as they stumbled to their feet, the dust began to clear. In the chaos, Jason's face twisted into revelation. He held something, an old, thick envelope. "No!" he shouted. "You can't let them take you. It's all in here. It's the key." "Key to what?" she yelled, confusion worming through her like ice. "To everything. The files, the truth about your father, and all of it. His eyes flashed with urgency as loud explosions faded to jagged whispers. Then, as if summoned by their rising panic, the air shifted. The sound of shuffling feet echoed, and suddenly a voice rang out, smooth yet authoritative. "You've failed me again, haven't you?" Melody's blood ran cold as a woman stepped through the chaos, dressed elegantly yet exuding an icy authority. "I didn't expect this level of incompetence," she said, waving a hand dismissively at the suited men. "Who are you?" Dante's voice trembled, shifting with dark undertones. The woman smiled, a chilling curve of her lips. "Perhaps it's time you all discovered the truth of Melody's heritage. She was never just an innocent bystander in this game." Melody's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" The woman's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Her father was more than just debts. You see, Melody, you belong—" "This can't be true, isn't it?" The woman's gaze sharpened. "Everything you thought you knew has been a lie. The moment you stepped into this world, your fate was sealed." Confusion twisted her heart. "What are you talking about?" And suddenly, the ground shook. A tremor rippled through the earth beneath them. Then, without warning, the park erupted, the sky ablaze as a sharp crack of energy sliced through the air. Everything went white. Melody stumbled back, blinded, feeling the grip of the world pull away. As the chaos faded into silence, one question gnawed at her mind. Who was she really? The truth lingered like a shadow, waiting to be unveiled. And in the silence, every hidden mystery whispered its secrets, ready to change everything she thought she knew. As the blinding light faded, the chaos around them settled into a tense silence. Melody blinked, trying to grasp what had just happened. Her mother stood tall, her eyes fierce, ready to confront the enemy they all shared. Every heartbeat was heavy with uncertainty, but something had shifted in her mother's voice, a commitment to the truth. "Listen to me," her mother commanded, and the crowd froze, wide-eyed with anticipation. "What I did was to protect you, to protect all of us. There's a network out there far larger than any of you understand." Melody felt a mixture of disbelief and confusion. "Protect us how?" she asked, her voice shaking. "By lying? By disappearing?" "It was the only way," her mother replied, desperation creeping into her tone. "Your father was involved with people who would stop at nothing to control you. They discovered your heritage long before you did. I had to play my part, become someone else to get close enough to them. And now they've come for all of us," Jason added, stepping closer. His eyes darted to the dark-suited figures edging closer, their expressions tense and threatening. Suddenly, everything snapped into focus. Melody took a breath, feeling the tightness in her chest, the weight of her past pressing down. "You have to trust us," she said, glancing at the crowd, at Dante, and back to her mother. "This is bigger than any of us." Dante nodded, his expression softening. "I told you, truth always finds a way to unravel. We stand together or we fall apart." Just as tension peaked, the first of the suited men stepped forward, a sharp glint in his eye. "Enough with your games. You've lost already." He motioned behind him. "Secure the area. We need to take her now." "No!" Melody shouted, a surge of determination coursing through her. "You can't take me. I will fight. We will fight together." The ground shook again, but this time it felt different, like energy was building. It was like a dam about to burst. With a single glance, her mother nodded, as if sharing an unspoken vow. "We do this together." The suited men drew closer, but before they could reach them, a sudden explosion erupted from the nearby SUV, sending up a wall of fire and debris. The crowd recoiled in shock. The blast sent the dark figures flying, giving Melody and her newfound allies the chance they needed. "Now!" Dante yelled, grabbing her hand and pulling her toward the edges of the chaos. Melody sprinted alongside her mother, Jason close behind. They threaded through the mess of confused bodies, shouting orders and desperate cries. They reached a clearing and turned to regroup. Their eyes searched the crowd, ensuring no one was left behind. "We have to find a way to expose them," Jason said, chest heaving. "We need to let everyone know the truth." "Together, we're stronger," Melody affirmed. "No more lies." Just then, a flicker of doubt crossed her mind, her heart racing again. "Will we really be safe?" she whispered, looking at the faces of those around her, their hope now mingled with uncertainty. "We will be," her mother said, touching her shoulder. "You are not alone, Melody. This is just the beginning." In that moment, something within Melody crystallized. She could rewrite her story, one filled with truth, strength, and a fierce love for those beside her. As they moved forward, thoughts surged forward, questions unresolved yet burning within her. What other secrets lay ahead? What dangers still lurked in the shadows? Yet knowing they would face it together inspired a flicker of hope. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the chaos, one thing became clear. The fight had only just begun. Now, before you go, listen up. You must subscribe immediately to this channel to catch the next explosive chapter of this story. You don't want to miss it. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support for the wild ride we just went through. Flood that comments section with your reactions and thoughts about the ending. And don't wait one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know about this jaw-dropping conclusion. Your action matters, and only true fans unders.